and I'm recording.
Sure.
And my first question is basically, when you answer questions, try to answer them like complete sentences.
Sure.
You know, like when I ask you what for
Turn it around. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. And can you just like state your name for the camera?
My name's Gavin Willard. I am the owner, along with my wife, of Tardy's Collector's Corner. We've owned it for about 6 years now. But this was our comic shop, always growing up and coming to shopping back in the day. We now have a second location in Allegan, Michigan, too, called Tardy's Underground. Anything else?
No. So you're the new ownership, right?
Right. Yep. The original owners owned it since 1979 till about 2015, I want to say. Kirby and Deb Tardy.
Okay. And then how did you guys take over? How was the transition of that?
We took over because they were basically looking to get out of it. They'd run it for 35 years, and they just kind of wanted to get out. We were trying to get in. They knew that we were doing conventions and things like that, online sales, and they go, well, it's either we get somebody to buy this or we close it down. And we were like, no, this shop is way too cool to close down. So we bought it. It was a nice, smooth transition. They ran it with us working for them for 2 years, and then the building or the business changed hands, and then we owned it, and they worked here for 2 years. Everything was very smooth. The transition's been great. We started carrying a lot more toys since we took over. We added a ton of collectibles and things like that. This was mainly like a hardcore, straight up comic book shop, but we've added a lot more collectibles, toys, posters, pops, a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. And then, what would you suggest for new comic book readers to pick up and get started?
Boy, it really depends. I mean, I always tell people, come up with a couple of TV shows or books that you really like, or video games. Mm-hmm. If you really like, say, a Western thing in space like Firefly, East of West might be right up your alley. If you really like the Marvel movies, specifically, we can find you things that are Fantastic Four, but we can also find you things that are close to Fantastic Four, like Black Science. So if you want to read something that's not just straight up Fantastic Four, because there's, 60 years, 70 years now of history and mythos there, if you want something that's a little bit more clean slate and you can start it from the beginning, we really try and tailor it to the person that is coming in and looking, because there's just so much. I mean, if there's a genre that you can think of, there's a comic book for it. We can point you towards sci-fi, history, science fiction, science fact, superhero, horror, romance. It just literally, you can check any boxes, anything there's a TV show, a movie of, a video game of. I mean, there's most likely a comic book of that fits in that box.
Okay. Do you guys think you have picked up business ever since the Marvel blockbuster movies have been coming out?
It was slow at first, and we've definitely picked up business. There's a lot more people kind of out hunting for things. I think there was a lot of bad that happened during the pandemic, but one of the cool things was because there wasn't a lot going on, people kind of had to stay home. They kind of rediscovered their passion in comic books, and collecting and buying comics and cards, and like the baseball card market is exploding right now too. All of these things that you enjoyed that maybe you just kind of pushed to the wayside or didn't have time for, everyone is starting to realize and remember, oh my gosh, I love these things. Why did I stop doing this? Life gets in the way. But that was a nice little pocket chance for people to go, you know what, I got nothing else going on. I'm going to take a deep dive back into what's going on again.
Okay. And then obviously, with the pandemic, you said things did slow down. How did you guys stay in business, especially in the new digital age?
So with the pandemic, it was scary. We took very, very little time off. There was a lot of people that kind of took the time and rediscovered things. We were paranoid that we didn't know how long this was going to last, so we dove deep and hard on what we could do here. I did daily videos. Every single day of the week, I would come in. We were here every single day. And then every day of the week, I would do a Facebook Live video and just interact with people that are at home, show off the stuff that we're working on in the store. We had a couple people donate art pieces to auction off to help the store. We have an insanely amazing customer base because they would buy gift cards. They would give us their pull lists. They would give us things that they're looking for that they haven't had a chance to dig for. Hey, if you find this, I will totally buy it from you. And so we had a ton of customers come to our rescue and just make sure that we were doing all right. And then on the other side, we were in here selling online like no tomorrow. I mean, it was very different from what it is right now. We had boxes stacked up, and we were shipping out 50 to 100 things a day just to make sure that everything was running smoothly. There was no issues. That we came back just as strong as we were before it was closed. And I will say too, the day that we opened back up, the doors opened back up, it was overwhelming, the support of people that came in. It was amazing. We probably had 150, 200 people throughout the day come in and just see us and talk to us and buy stuff and make sure that we're doing okay, and we got to catch up with them, because this whole place starts becoming very much like we see these people more than we see family and a lot of really close friends, because it's a weekly trip for a lot of people. We're part of their routine.
So you guys basically like family at this point.
Exactly. We've kind of become a very large family, because we're all into the same thing, so we can all conversate about things. But you don't see people that often and not find out a little bit more about them, So
that's a really good answer.
Thanks.
What would you suggest for people who don't like superhero comics?
Try anything else. I mean, if you're not a Superman fan or a Batman or a Superman, there's so much more out there. I mean, superheroes are the most prevalent in media, but that is so the tip of the iceberg. So a lot of people, they see comic books and they think capes, spandex, and then if they think of horror, they think of Walking Dead. But there are so many books out there. There's so many different little things. Like I was saying, there's so many little different subgenres and things like that. So, like if you're into horror and you really like Depression era stuff, Severed is amazing. If you really like occult detective things, Hellboy is fantastic, and it dives into things that are part myth from different countries, all these fairy tale creatures and things like that that are known from different folklore that aren't just from ours. Like the Baba Yaga is very prevalent in Hellboy. If you have if you're into humor, if you're into dark humor, if you're into romance, there's anything that you can think of. And like I keep saying, superheroes are so the tip of the iceberg. Ever since the mid 80s, it has really taken off to everything. Mid 80s was kind of when some companies started to tiptoe away from just having Marvel and DC. So there was Dark Horse coming out, there was First Comics, there's Pied Piper, there's all these different companies that are coming out, and now we keep on moving along with that, where there's Image, Dark Horse, and Boom, and Vault, and Scout, and all these different places. There's so many different companies coming out with stuff, and so little of it is superhero stuff, that if you're not into superhero stuff, keep on moving, because there's something else out there for you.
And then you said something about events and conventions. Can you go into that a little bit? Like what you guys do?
Yeah, we do about 12 conventions a year, give or take, probably 12 to 20. Anywhere from 3-day shows like in Indianapolis and Grand Rapids and Chicago, to just small little 1-day shows where they're in like a hotel banquet room and it's a handful of dealers throwing stuff out. So, for instance, we were just in Elkhart, Indiana at Hall of Heroes, which is kind of a mid-sized show. It's 2 days long. They get 3 or 4 celebrity guests, 3 or 4 comic book guests, and it's kind of the perfect size show because there's not. There's some convention centers that you walk in and it feels like you're in a Walmart. There's that many comics and toys that just run the entire length of the building. And then there's little teeny tiny ones. This was just right in the middle. It was about this little bit bigger than a Walgreens. So it's just the right amount of stuff that you can see. You can take a couple hours and look around and see what you want. And Comic-Cons are fun. But yeah, you can go to, if you're looking for collectibles and things like that, there's a good place to hit a lot of booths at the same time. The smaller ones, you're going to have mainly stuff driven where by that meaning you're going to be basically buying things. There's not going to be a ton of celebrities. There's not going to be a ton of artists. And it moves up to the point where if you talk about San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con, where it's almost a week-long event, and you get the biggest stars of Hollywood. When we went to New York Comic-Con, we saw Whoopi Goldberg walking around on the floor. San Diego, I've seen Keanu Reeves, I've seen Jamie Lee Curtis, I've seen, all these different huge names. So, it really runs the gambit to a ton of different things. Comic-Cons are definitely something special. If you've never been, it's definitely something to take in. And I always tell everybody, start small, start at a 1-day show or maybe a 2-day show and see if you like it, because if you go too big too fast, it can be extremely overwhelming.
And then one last question.
Yeah.
What does comic books or Tardies mean to you?
I mean, this place has been part of my life for 20-something years now. We would come here and pick up our books every single week and shop the bins. And basically, we would come and shop here when we were very budding fans into the industry, or into the collecting. All the way into supporting us when we were really, really into it, and then into foraying into our job and our livelihood and our dream, because this is what we've always wanted to do. It's great. I mean, it's everything. It's family. It's entertainment. It's more home than home sometimes. So.
All right, that's all the questions I have for you.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
No problem.